and hand over to our wonderful presenters. We are moving on to our AI for Founders session, and I'd like to call up Hoppa.ai. A reminder, if you have questions, please do submit them at the link. And over to Tom.
Hope you can hear me all right. I think the mic's there. Good. Fab. So yeah, I've got the joy of presenting to you all first up from the cohort. So good morning and thank you for having me here. So Hoppa. I'll start off with a bit of an intro to us. So I'm Tom, I'm the CTO and co-founder of Hoppa. Sam and I launched Hoppa around 18 months ago. So prior to launching Hoppa, I was working at a company called Atkins, or Atkins Realis as they are now known, building information management and predictive analytics systems there for their design and engineering teams. And then prior to that, I was actually practicing as a civil structural engineer myself. So I was working in the nuclear new build and defense space primarily, doing a lot of analysis there, albeit of a different slant. So really just painting this journey here to emphasize that we very much see engineering, construction, and the built environment as being the roots of what we do now at Hoppa, and has been really, really core to our origin story in terms of where we've ended up today and the types of services that we offer. What does that practically mean for us, and why do we do what we do at Hoppa? Well, we believe that construction has a bandwidth problem around processing information and actually using that information to make decisions. And there's plenty of information out there online to support the point I'm making there, but actually it's not just a construction problem. It's an asset operations problem. And when we're thinking about the assets that we have in operation today and the fact that they're going to have 40, 50, sometimes 100-year lifespans, that's really, really important that we are conscious of the way that we are producing and preparing information today such that it can be used in future by future generations to manage and operate those assets effectively. And not just think about it from a kind of bottom line point of view, but actually thinking about the safety, the legal, the ethical implications of good information management in construction and the built environment. So what's our response to that? Well, Hoppa, we describe ourselves as a data refinery. So what that means in practice is that we work with construction and built environment teams to connect into their data stores. We can then stream information. We set up specifications detailing how you want to organize that information, how you want to reconstitute it, restructure it, relabel it in order to support your particular information goals. We then run our analysis. So we've got a whole kit of parts, workflow orchestration engine to help you relabel, reclassify that information, and then tools to help humans quality assure, quality control the outputs, because it's not just about using AI to take over the whole job. We need to keep humans in the loop. And then it's about transmitting that downstream. So we are a data refinery first and foremost, but we know that we are not the end point for that information, and it plugs into the next point in the process, and that people need to use that information to actually make decisions. So we're all about pushing that into long-term systems of records, into dashboards, etc., in order to drive better decision making rather than being yet another app where data goes to die, which is not what we want. In terms of what that's meaning and what we've learned and some of the outcomes over the last 6 months on the cohort and prior to that, hopefully some of these numbers speak for themselves in terms of the impact that we're having and the benefits that we're able to deliver to our customers. We are working across everything here from asset condition monitoring, so desktop surveys. We're helping customers with invoice triaging and fraud detection. We're helping customers with construction into operations handover. So anywhere where data volumes are unsustainably large for humans alone to be able to cope with and parse and use all of that information effectively, we're able to step in and provide a real force multiplier there. But it's not just about automation of people's work, it's actually about the opportunity and the so what that comes after that. We are enabling our customers and their teams to manage information at a scale that, as I say, wouldn't have been possible previously. That is allowing them to do really, really exciting things with their assets, such as build predictive analytics models that cover their entire estates, where previously they would have not been able to achieve that. The business case wouldn't have been there to structure the data to the point that they could have enabled that model. So that's the really, really exciting part of this for us. It's not just about the automation, it's about the so what that comes off the back of using AI in this particular context. In terms of the Practitioners Hub reflections, I think it's been a fantastic 6 months. The Practitioners Hub has provided a real springboard for us, and I think access and insight into a whole world of support that we can access through Innovate UK and Bridge AI that we really kind of weren't aware of before. There's a couple of examples here that we've actually come to as a result of being involved in the Practitioners Hub. So getting some support from BSI on our 27001. I've been fortunate enough to get this AI management practitioner qualification through the same overall funding streams. And actually it's moved us a long way down the road now to preparing ourselves for 27001 and info security accreditation, which is super important at this inflection point in our growth as a business to be able to demonstrate to our customers that we take this kind of stuff really, really seriously. So that's been fantastic. I think the second real area is around collaboration and networking. It's events like this. It's meeting people. It's having interesting conversations and hearing from other people around how they're approaching some of these challenges. So yeah, a couple of names to shout out here. We met the guys from Sense About Science, Sam El Badri at an Innovate UK event. They've been really supportive in helping us develop our own responsible AI handover collateral to support our processes and our dialogue with our customers. And we've now been able to publish some of that online. And Chiasm as well, former members of the Practitioners Hub from a previous cohort, meeting them, engaging with them through these events, and actually using their previous case study as a reference in one of our own white papers. So just closing the loop there and showing that the outputs from the Turing Way Practitioners Hub do have a real tangible impact as well. And I think the final point on reflections here was just around the opportunity it's given us to have conversation with some really big organizations who are really shaping our industry and the built environment in this country, and using that both to strengthen our existing relationships with our customers, but also have dialogues with some new customers as well. So there's just a few names there, and then a nod to the case study which is coming, where we'll be talking about some of those specific examples and how we've been working with some of our customers as well. Final slide, and then I'll pass on to the next group. Just to maybe say where we're going next. A lot of detail on this slide. I think we are very much doubling down on the built environment. We do really feel that working in this sector and the offering is really, really important to construction and then operations. So we're going to continue to build out our capabilities, our connectors, our templated workflows to offer more and more services in this space. And it's a really exciting time to be working in knowledge management in the built environment. I think as well as being an automation capability, we're really excited about the potential to take this in some new directions around development of golden thread, around supporting development of semantic layers to then support higher order agentic AI use cases, around audit trails for information. So we very much want to continue to position ourselves at the intersections between all the great technology that our industry is using, and there is a lot of great technology out there, in order to ensure that that technology is used more effectively. And that's us. And final shout out there, if you do fancy reading a little bit more around where we're going or where we think the industry is going, then do scan the QR code there and have a read of our white paper. And we'd love to hear what you think as well. Thank you.
Oh, no. You please take a seat over there. We do have a couple of questions that have come through on the Slido, Tom. So the first one up is, what are the main barriers you've experienced when presenting your AI business case to construction clients?
Good question. So I think first and foremost is what we're offering is big, and it's really broad, and it touches a lot of different people in different ways. So there's commonalities that we see around unstructured, semi-structured data management across lots of different verticals and stages of the asset lifecycle, but it's a very different conversation talking to a quantity surveyor versus talking to a site manager or a facilities manager. So contextualising what we're offering and really embedding it in their problem statements has been key. And I would like to think that our experience in the built environment and working as engineers has helped us to bridge that divide, but you'd have to ask our customers.
Wonderful. I'm just going to double check. Is there any questions in the room? We have some roving mics. Okay, great. I have another one on here. What was or is your biggest challenge and approach to build trust in your solution?
Deliver value early. I think both Sam and I, when we initially set out on the Hoppa journey, we were both very clear that we wanted to build something that could deliver value early. A, because that could help us fund the business, and that's really important. But also that there's a lot of hype, there's a lot of noise around AI. It's so important to be able to show outcomes. So that's a big thing for us, and I would countenance for other people as well.
Great, thank you. And one final question. Actually, no, we will save that final question for the discussion we're going to have at the end of this session, because I think it's applicable to everyone. But thank you very much, Tom. If you'd like to stay there just for while we do the other two presentations, then everyone gets to have a little discussion at the end. Thank you very much again. Thank you, round of applause for Hoppa. And I'd now like to welcome up to the stage Lelo from AIConstruct. Take it away, Lelo.
So I think the mic is around here somewhere. It's not picking up. Is it fine? All right. So I'm Lelo, and I'm the founder of AIConstruct, which is a tech company that is developing an AI-integrated reality capture for construction sites. So Tom and I will have a good conversation after this, by the way, in our coffee break, I mean. Anyways, our company develops this product that scans the reality on the grounds of the construction sites and compares the data it finds there in the form of point clouds. It compares that data against the point cloud data from the built information modeling data, and then it automates the deviation checking as well as potential structural changes on that data. And that is to help the construction teams themselves being able to hopefully pick up issues quicker than later on when the reworks would cost a lot of money to sort of manage. We are in our piloting phase right now. In my company, we don't have actual paying clients simply because this is sort of novel in construction. They've never had to have a wearable Quest scanner in a form of MetaQuest 3 with custom AI capabilities that are passing through and scanning the environment by simply just looking at the site and not having a handheld scanner or any other 3D weird thing on their heads. So we're trying to push the innovation forward in terms of just capturing data by simply looking and not doing much into that. So while we're in this piloting phase, I will reflect about how being involved in the Touring Practitioners Hub as an expert in resident, how has that impacted the development of the product to a point that it is right now. And I'll be looking at the assumptions we had before we joined the program, how have they been changed over time. Then I'll look at the data aspect, how has being part of this program impacted the way we have sort of gathered our data, created the data pipeline for capturing on site, as well as looking at the quality and the accuracy of that data. And then I'll also talk a bit about AI, how we have adopted it in the development aspect and how we're looking at deploying it in a way that is ethical, responsible, and reliable. And finally, I'll talk a bit about the support that we've received from the people as well in this community, other expectant residents, as well as the Touring Hub team members. So assumptions. When we started, we, like many startups, always have these ideas, and we think, we're fine. We have set clear sort of relative product that can go into market within or in less than 6 months of joining the program. Obviously, we didn't know anything about ethical deployment of it, or even the development of the product ethically or responsibly for a sector as critical as construction. So we learned a lot about how we have to change those assumptions and bring back to reality and look at how conservative this construction is. It doesn't really move as quick as how other sectors tend to move. We've also had to change our assumptions in terms of who's involved during the capturing of the data and that data, who would have access to it. So that's stakeholder mapping, the question of who in relation to the data that we are capturing. We had assumption in terms of the tools we're using with the capture, instead of just using the closed vendor solutions that we develop ourselves. We had assumptions that have been changed by letting us being open to trying open source frameworks that are doing the work much better than we would have thought. So let's talk a bit about this data aspect. So what you see on the one side is how the scanner captures the data in the form of point clouds, and on the other side is it's a BIM model itself. And then we're trying to make sure we are accurately fitting this into a data pipeline end to end from when we are capturing this in a way that the points are of a good quality, silencing the noise, and doing so in such a way that compares comparatively with the reliably, with the BIM model cloud data on the other side. Essentially, the tool before joining this program wasn't sort of data rich, and that's because we were not looking at data in sources where we should. Before joining this program, we thought not having data was just a challenge, but we didn't know that not having data was a data itself. So we've had to expand and look at data sources outside the UK construction sector. We had data sources from universities in China that are sort of spearheading intelligence and AI in their construction sectors. There are some universities in Germany as well who are looking at AI immersives as well as the construction ways that leading. So that meant looking just beyond the country at what other countries are doing and how are they sort of trying to move the needle forward. Now, looking at AI, we've had a lot to change in here. We had a pipeline that wasn't looking like how our AI pipeline looks right now. So initially, we didn't have any of the frameworks looking at the ethical quality of the data, or just the ethics around the data itself. After a lot of sessions with the trainers, all the way from the data readiness to the different forms of biasness in looking at the data and how to embed ethical frameworks, we've had to sort of rework our approach to that, and that is something that we have found from this program, which has helped us a lot. We've also had to look at interoperability of the data. So, making sure that our AI pipeline is giving outcomes that are sort of interoperable with other tools that are sort of open source. So for an example, we're using Cesium as the viewer for the 3D geospatial mapping of where the sites are at. We have AI agents that are now feeding into that near real time when the data is being scanned, but the data itself is synthesized. We still need an opportunity to get on an actual ground and capture it in a way that can be visualized near real time. So even with the insights and a whole lot of other ways of visualizing this, it has changed dramatically from when we started the program up until now. Now we move on to the people. So all of these changes would not have been possible if we did not have all the amazing trainers that were brought by the program, all the facilitators that gave us an in-depth approach. As a solo-founded sort of lean startup, getting good information to try and implement a solution that can be adopted in a sector is critical, and big as construction, and as somebody who doesn't look like the majority of the people in that construction site, it's important to have some sense of belonging that is associated with a community that has like a strong brand. So I would like to say that we were fortunate that the Alan Turing it's a noticeable and a known institute. And then this project within the Alan Turing Institute has opened a lot of conversations in terms of people being open to trying out this pilot, and then trusting that we are applying it in the right way. So what's next? We have published our drafted case study. It's subject to change when the final case studies have been finalized. If you'd like to read about where we started and how we managed to get to where we are, the scanner is right there. We will be taking part into a lot of academic research publications, simply because what we're doing stems from research as well. So we've been taking in the information, but research doesn't have enough of the application on the ground, which is where we come in. We are the ones who will be, as we're piloting, write a research article around it and loop in all the other academic partners that we have stemmed their data from. We are planning to collaborate and contribute, to open source projects. A lot of, actually, most of the tools that are built, that we have used to build our tool are open source. So from the OpenXR, that is scanning, and that's open source. Cesium, it's open source. Visualizations themselves, it's a lot of open source that we're just taking together, swinging, and then stitching and trying to get to where we would like to get to. But that's obviously not complete, and we have not contributed back. So we are hoping that what's next for us is to contribute back to these open source communities. And finally, we would like to contribute to the UK Construction Industry Task Force, which we are part of right now. It's a team of construction, I'm not sure if Tom is part of it in his company, but it's a team of construction workers and other SMEs companies and just a lot of constructors that are writing their agendas to the government, advising and asking for more support, and they have a mandate for what they would like to achieve each and every year. So for this year, we are hoping to contribute to that as well. So I'll stop here and open up the floor for any questions.
Wonderful. Thank you very much, Lelo. Is that on? I hope so. I can't tell. Please don't go anywhere, because we do already have some questions for you on the Slido. Before I go to the Slido, does anyone have any questions they would like to shout out in the room? Yep, Gabriella down in the front. Lele is just going to come with the mic so that everyone online can hear you as well.
Some impediments if it was like cluttered that you could like see? Do you have any challenges that way when you were trying to get your data captured?
So we are trying to capture during the times when the actual work is done. We are aware that construction sites tend to have these external forces that might impact vision, but we have not yet seen that in the data, and that's because we haven't tested it enough. We haven't been on so many enough construction sites. One pilot that's sort of small, but we tested it's in-house and it's like a rework, but there is enough data that is impacting the quality of the point cloud data, in a sense that we don't get what we want from it. We can sort of get, we are aware that when we do scale out, we would have dust, we would have structures that have all sorts of external environmental difficulties, and we are trying to mitigate ways around how we would improve the vision when such time happens, but at this point, we're not there yet.
Thank you, Lelo. Thank you.
Thanks very much, Lelo. You have a couple of questions actually around the stakeholder mapping, so we'll try and combine them. But essentially, what is one surprise from the stakeholder mapping exercises that you carried out? And then how did that change or reinforce your development and value creation during that exercise?
Thanks for that question. So the one surprise came from a facilitator, actually. It was from Lele when we were mapping out, and she asked, so what about the habitant? Who's going to live in that house that you're busy scanning? Shouldn't they have access to that data in the end? So that was a big surprise, because I thought it would just be, data that only the companies would have, and the person who lives there probably shouldn't have access to it. I mean, what do they have to do with the data themselves? But thinking about it and thinking about it long term, it's probably useful to sort of have this copy of your physical structure as a person living there. for many different use cases in the future. Maybe if you'd like to work out the performance of it over time, or when you might want to sell it or upgrade it, or if the disaster hits it and you'd like to rebuild it, you already sort of have a copy of how it looked like just from the scans. So it was a very important realization from that stakeholder mapping, and I'll always be grateful, I mean, to that question. To that input from Lelis. So.
Wonderful. Thank you very much, Lelo. I will leave that there for now, but if you have any more questions for Lelo, you can put them on the Slido. Please take a seat and we will come back to you. And then I'd like to welcome up to the stage our next speaker, Hinesh.
Can you all hear me okay? Yep. Okay, so I'm going to talk about OneFit.ai. First of all, introduce myself. So mainly a software engineer, been a software engineer for over 20 years. Worked a bit of AI system in the music industry before working into banking, finance, and now I'm working, applying my knowledge and skills on trying to solve the shoe sizing return problem. So first of all, hands up who buys shoes online or buys multiple shoes online because they don't know their size and then returns others. Quite a lot. And hands up who is anxious to buy online because they don't know their size. Oh, wow, okay. Perfect. So yeah, this is a massive problem. We found that 10% of people don't actually buy online because they don't know their size. They might go to the site and then just drop off and not buy. And then there's about 18 to 30% of people return the shoes when buying online, which is huge. And then there's not all shoes that get returned actually get resold. Some of them unfortunately end up in landfill, which contributes to the 22 billion pairs of shoes that go to landfill every single year, which is like enough CO2 emissions to power 88 million homes for a year. So it's quite a lot of waste. So how is OneFit.ai trying to solve that? We're using computer vision and AI to, so it's a plug-in to help people on our e-commerce site where someone just scans their feet using the phone, staying on A4 paper for reference, and then it uses a machine learning model that we built to match their size in millimeters to their foot, the shoe in the brand and style, and then capture all that data, and we're improving it as we go along. So this quick, let's see if it plays. Yep. So this is what it looks like. It's a simple plug-in, a few basic questions. And then, yeah, it works on A4 or letter size paper for those in the US. Quick scan, and then you see the size recommendation. So yeah, we've already implemented it. We had a pilot last year, a company called Wildfoot Shoes. We found that a third of people who scan their feet end up buying, increases their sales by over 2%. The average order value is slightly higher as well, so people are more confident to buy slightly more expensive shoes. And then the pricing model that we had, they'd get a 10x on return on investment. So joined Alan Turing Practitioners Hub last year, and there's many takeaways that I had, but these are the three ones that I'm going to talk about today. So the ethics course that I had, I enjoyed that one. And there's personas, and the the dreamer. I felt like that related to me actually. I'm a developer. It's like, okay, cool. There's new tech. I want to get out there. Let's use it. Let's see what happens. And then you've got to think about the consequences. And how do we get this to market? What's the pushback? You've got customers. So I've split this in two. You've got users and retailers because it's B2B2C. So users will have to learn a new tool that they're not familiar with. So there might be some friction there. But on the flip side, they're more likely to purchase. They could be satisfied with the purchase, but they have to trust that is the right size. So you have to build trust. And then there's also, there might be concern over the data, what does it do? So you've got to, think about all these things when building it. And then for the retailers, yes, it will help reduce returns, help the environment. But again, there's cost element to it. They're going to be concerned about the customer experience, etc. So there's a lot to think about. And then AI ethics and key principles. So you want to build trust with the customers and have fairness, no discrimination, accountability and traceability, what's happened to everyone's data, documentation, privacy, because people are putting their feet in the cloud. What's happening to that data? It's not being sold on somewhere. Yeah. So again, be transparent and inclusive as well. So make sure that it works with every single type of skin type, etc. And then also make it all user friendly as well, so everyone can use it and accessible. So that's pretty good. So, and the benefits of that, improves operational efficiency, builds trust. Building trust and everything has a competitive advantage, reduces risk and long-term sustainability. So going on to sustainability, a lot of people say, okay, using AI and using all this power and the data centers isn't that bad, But actually, if you look at it, you've got 30 to 80 million tons of carbon emissions produced by data centers globally. But the shoe and apparel industry produce 330 million. So 10 times more CO2 emissions from clothing. And then with water usage, data centers have water cooling, etc. It's quite a lot. It's in the 300 billion, but then producing shoes and water and clothes, it's over 220 trillion. So it's a lot more. So just having technology to reduce some of the waste, you're actually saving a lot more. We use training is expensive, but then inferencing is actually quite cheap. So it's good. So in the footwear industry, we've got the digital readiness. They're not the highest ranking in digital readiness, so they're quite towards the bottom. And you see loads of footwear they're selling online. They look quite technically savvy, etc. But behind the scenes, the operations, the leadership isn't that forward thinking. Quite conservative in terms of technology. And so some of the pushback, it's not. They've got strategic barriers. They've got level of perceived risk, IP concern. There's cultural change within. So they've got. It's a lower priority in terms of the team. They're more dealing with actually the day-to-day admin rather than looking into new AI tech. And then they've got limited knowledge, lack of awareness. So there's a whole barrier when you actually go into a shoe retailer and actually presenting your AI solution. You come up with all these barriers, and it's because they're not as forward-thinking and in the readiness as someone in finance or another industry. So what I've accomplished so far, so started this while I was still working in 2023. And it's basically part of a personal issue I had. I was running and I didn't have time to buy new shoes or return them. So started a side project idea as a 2023, innovate funding in 24, pilot last year. And then, now, trying to accelerate and part of the Alan Turing Institute. So what's next? So from all these learnings, which was still building, enhancing the user experience. We had someone say that found it difficult to use. So we're actually using AI, Edge AI now to, it's not released yet, will be, to help them direct how to scan the feet correctly. And also it's a gateway so that they don't post any random picture. It'll only be their foot standing on a paper. So it's, yeah, Edge AI doing that is a brilliant way of doing it. We've got a, trying to increase accuracy, more transparency as well, so there's not enough documentation, just focusing on building rather than documenting, so got to improve that. And then, yeah, we've got a case study coming out shortly. Thank you guys for helping with that. And then, yeah, probably in the future expand into other markets. So, yeah, thank you.